Hello, good evening, and thanks again for tonight's edition of Ideas Exchange. Campaign activities are beginning ahead of the 2024 elections. What is interesting this time is that Ghanaians will be looking at what we call track records, the experiences, the integrity, the promises to be made, what they believe in, and most especially, because of the state of our economy today, the state of our governance structures today, our weakened institutions, the apathy among Ghanaians, especially the youth, the sense of patriotism that appears to have left many people who don't care anymore about Ghana because they are disappointed. What will be seen to propel or to rejuvenate the system, and the system will refer to Ghana as a corporate body, to change direction and go back to our roots as patriots who are committed to seeing the development of this country, would depend on who Ghanaians choose as our leader from 2025. So tonight our conversation is post-2024. We've seen the 2024 budget already. So if you are thinking about the economy and how things may shape up before the end of 2024, you may have an idea today. The external factors or the internal factors and how things will unfold will also be monitored along the line. But the fact is that 2024 will be an electioneering year, and the two major political parties will be the focus. We are looking at former President John Dramani Mahama, who will be on the ticket of the NDC, and of course Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who will be on the ticket of the NPP. Already something appears to be the campaign promises that are gradually being rolled up, being announced. And so just a couple of days ago, the former President John Dramani Mahama met at the Trades Union Congress. That is where what is now the topic of the day, a 24-hour economy, emerged from. But beyond that, we are also thinking about what really must Ghanaians be seeing in the next president, be it governance, be it how they are going to manage the institutions, and so on and so forth. So tonight our program will be in twofold. The first part, which will be very brief, will just touch on the 24-hour economy. We'll be speaking to a marketing consultant who is based in the UK, who is into industrial economics, who will be helping us to understand from the perspective of those who have seen it all in Western countries, how this works, the challenges that are likely to be faced, what the NDC as a party in opposition should be considering as the team of experts continue to piece together ideas and tapping into experiences, how they go. But before I roll out this conversation and I introduce my studio guest and then the guests will be joining us via Zoom, I want you to listen to the Trades Union Congress, how they saw this debate over 24-hour economy, how it all started.
Many airlines around the world are public airlines. They work. Why is it that in our case our airlines don't work? Now UCG2, we can't manage it. If you cannot manage one sector, how can you manage the whole economy? You can't. We can't build our roads. We have to bring people from somewhere. We have to do everything. A time is coming, maybe our macroeconomic, the central bank should be full of foreigners. I hear now there are some foreigners sitting there. We are also very interested in his views on the constitutional reforms, which we are advocating, and then the disparities between salaries on single spine and Article 71 office holders. We are also very interested and we are eager to know a lot more about his great idea of a 24-hour economy. I think this one, comrade, you have to take your time. Because I can imagine the amount of jobs that this kind of thing will create. That could be the game changer. I'm telling you that you have opportunities in this country. We work 24 hours, 3 shifts. So if you don't get a job in the morning, you can get it in the afternoon or in the night. So where are the young people? Get ready for jobs.
So fast track, that was Dr. Yaba, the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress. But the MPP is already responding, and I've seen a lot of write-ups by different people with different backgrounds of their understanding of the economy. But the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, is stoking some controversy. I've put the text together, I'll share with you, but later we'll hear him and the response from the former president. And it reads, John Mahama says he has a new idea. What is the idea? He says he wants a 24-hour economy. He does not even understand the policy. Today in Ghana, our hospitals work 24 hours, our electricity company works 24 hours, our water company works 24 hours, our fuel stations work 24 hours, and many chop bars work 24 hours. Today, because of digitalization, you can transfer money 24 hours, you can receive money 24 hours, so he does not understand his own policy. It doesn't make sense. That's Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. But this is it. We are having a debate on the 24-hour economy. So this conversation, which will be very brief, will tap on the same questions many people are asking. And here are the questions. So what really is this 24-hour economy? Does it have all the potential to accelerate development, economic growth, increase government revenue, create jobs? Are there opportunities there for the private sector? And what kind of incentives or incentive will be attractive? Are those arguing it already exists suggest it cannot be officialized with specific government directives to key state agencies? What are likely to be the stumbling blocks, and is it possible to pass bills to facilitate implementation? And finally, how difficult or easy could it be to adopt best practices out there? Or better still, can Ghana draw inspiration from countries that have successfully implemented this? So that's been the conversation out there. I told you I'll be joined by a guest via Zoom. But before that, let me introduce my studio guest. My studio guest is an interesting man because he comes across with vast experience, over 40 years working in the civil, or I'll call it the public sector, a former MP, environment minister, local government minister, and lately been addressing international forums in the US, China, UK, remembered for his thought-provoking presentations at events such as, and I'm taking instructive reference to this, the UN Crans Montana Forum, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, and then Wall Street Economic Summit, Marrakesh Security Forum. He's a Minister of State at the presidency before, who was in charge of development, and currently chairs the Africa Global Emergence Center and also the president of Africa Growth Solutions. It's called Akwesi Opong Fosu. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I know my conversation with you is not really about this 24-hour economy thing. Exactly. I brought you here because you have been speaking at various fora in some of the countries I've mentioned, and specifically you are looking at governance and how governments can tap into the resources to transform the growth of Africa. Now, here we are, a small country called Ghana, which has a lot of potential. We know our economy is in crisis. We know institutions are weak. And in my introduction, I was talking about a people who seem to have lost hope. If you sit back and you look at these ideas that are coming, what walks through your mind looking at the challenges ahead?
Yeah, thank you for having me here. You've hit it right on the nail right on the head by saying that we seem to have lost hope. And that's exactly what is happening in our country now. If you consider the extent of migration, the uncertain futures that our youth are faced with, and you try very hard to kind of encourage them that it's going to be well. But deep down, you know it is not well. And it has to do with the choices we made in our selection of leaders, that through the democratic governance system that we have agreed to undertake. It's just a choice, and choices have consequences. So going forward, we need to renew our mindset towards leadership. It's very important that...
When you say we should renew our mindset towards leadership, can you help us to appreciate some specifics? Because you would notice that anytime there is a change in government, it could be in Ghana or any other country, especially when a certain government has performed so poorly, there is something we call goodwill.
Yeah.
This goodwill will be a false, somebody will say, a start that is giving whoever has taken over the mantle a clean sheet.
Right.
So when you talk about having that confidence in the leadership, can you help us to understand how really it should work post 2024?
We try to look at leadership as people who have been selected to, especially through voting, to lead. But it's, it comprises those people we are talking about, the people themselves, and the context. The context is the environment. And it has to be, it deals with our value systems, our beliefs, our principles, our symbols. Who are those that we consider as our heroes? I remember sometime former President Mahama said we tend to celebrate people with dubious wealth, and some people had issues with that. But that's precisely what is happening, you know. So if a country does not identify their heroes as people with integrity, people who have worked hard, and will celebrate those who have wealth, who have status, regardless of where they got the wealth from, then there is an issue.
So how tough should such a leader be going forward? Because it is almost becoming clear that the election will be between the NDC and the NPP. These are parties which have been in government before. These are parties which a large base in terms of grassroots participation, and they've already set themselves ready for 2024. The other political parties haven't even elected their candidates, let alone parliamentary primaries. And so many people would say at this stage that it is either going to be John Mahama or Dr. Bawumia, but whichever way it is, that leader must put certain principles in place. A tough leader or somebody whose work will be appealing to people or maybe based on the assurances through the promises you'll be making.
So before we get to that, for the people who are choosing the leaders, what informs their views regarding those they are selecting?
I'll come to you because I want us to go into this, because our colleague who is joining us via Zoom is called Kenneth Johnson. He's a Ghanaian based in the UK, manufacturing consultant, and of course with focus on industrial economics, as I said, and innovations. He's the president UK Pro Forum NDC. Now, before I welcome him, let us listen to the vice president's reaction to the proposal of a 24-hour economy and the president's response. I'm talking about the former president's response, by which time Kenneth Johnson would have joined us via Zoom.
So what is this 24-hour economy that you want to bring? It is purely an issue for any business. If you feel you will make money opening 24 hours, there is no law preventing you from opening. But this is one idea that John Mahama thinks he has brought. It is a bad idea. It is an idea that has not been thought through. It is a bad idea. And so I want you to compare me and John Mahama. Who has the ideas to transform this economy? Who has the ideas? Who has the ideas? Yes, the track record of John Mahama doesn't show innovative thinking. It doesn't show ideas. The track record of Dr. Baumia is idea after idea after idea after idea after idea. He doesn't even understand that policy. Today in Ghana, our hospitals work 24 hours. Our electricity company works 24 hours. Our water company works 24 hours. Our phone companies work 24 hours. Many job bars work 24 hours. Isn't it? Today, because of digitalization, the banks, you can transfer money 24 hours. You can receive money 24 hours. Isn't it?
We know that there will be obstacles. One, you need to provide security, because people must be able to work in the night without armed robbers going to attack them. So it means that we must provide more police officers. We must provide all those companies with security so that they're able to do their work. But if we have to provide more police officers and security men, it means we will employ more young people to join the security services to be able to make the 24-hour economy work. And so it doesn't mean that if already one or two industries are doing it, or one or two companies are doing it, we cannot provide incentives for more of them to do it so that they can provide opportunity for more young people to get work. And so it is our policy, we'll implement it. When we come, we'll open it. The initiative is available. Any company that wants to work a shift system and work more than the 8 hours that they normally work, from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, they will sign on, and we'll give them tax incentives and everything that you need to be able to employ more people. And so it's a project that we will adopt. We have a group of experts working on it. We'll roll out the policy, and companies that voluntarily want to sign on will be allowed to do so.
That is NDC's 2024 candidate. Speaking there earlier was the Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who will lead the MPP into the 2024 elections. I told you we'll be speaking to Kenneth Johnson, a Ghanaian based in the UK. He's a manufacturing consultant with focus on industrial economics and innovations. He's also the president, the UK Pro Forum. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Eric, and it's an honor to be with you on this show. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also privileged. It was a short notice, but I'm happy that you made time to speak to us. Our focus tonight is to just tease you to help us appreciate this whole debate about a 24-hour economy with specific reference to what may be practiced elsewhere. You are living in one of the economies which is actually going with this 24-hour policy or economy agenda. So help us. When we talk about this 24-hour thing, having listened to a lot of Ghanaians debating it, what walks through your mind?
People are a bit confused, really, more so when you hear the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana spewing venumes without giving details. I mean, if you are talking about the services sector, i.e. the electricity company of Ghana or the nurses and doctors working in the hospitals, and say that's a 24-hour economy, then that is a very big mistake, or a definition that doesn't make sense. Because these sectors are known as essential, so we cannot even, in a normal sense, argue that it is a 24-hour supplement into the economy. But let me explain to you what the concept of 24-hour work is. You would notice that countries which have made cities 24 hours at a profit, they normally tend to make more money, they create more opportunities, more jobs. Cairo has run 24 hours. economy for a very long time. And you can see that the per capita Egypt within a corridor the same as that of Accra. You can look at London. London trains run 24 hours, which is why the economy of London per se is greater in terms of proportion to the United Kingdom's economy. Now, bring that into perspective to Ghana says. I think that people have already defined what President Mahama has proposed as a game changer. I would go further than that to call it the journey of the future, the new future for Ghana. It is not just a game changer, but it's going to be the future for our country, because you are now going to have the opposition begin to think. You're also going to give the opportunity for the young people to aspire. It is a transformation which is giving more people the chance to become what they have always wished to be able to do in their life. There are a teeming number of people out there who have got no jobs. Meanwhile, we have buildings in our society which only runs for 8 hours in a day. So can't we just give those buildings back to the people so they can rent them and do activities? Nightlife economy is big. That is one aspect of the economic advantages of 24-hour economy. We can also think about how the innovators will begin to use that period to begin to work. We can look at how we are going to boost tourism. That, apart from that, if you think about Tema Port, for instance, the reasons why we have a lot of carnage in Ghana is because we do not use our road networks in the night properly. But once you begin to go into 24-hour economy, then you are saying that you're going to have more police officers on our street. We are going to have legislations looking into the issues of our private security forces, which means that the MMDAs are going to become more effective and going to have more IGF, internal generated funds, which are also going to give opportunities for young people to become more aspirational. Apart from that, you're also giving yourself the country to become more community-based, if you think about it. London, they say, doesn't sleep. Sao Paulo doesn't sleep.
Kenneth, I want to come in. I want to come in briefly.
Doesn't sleep. What do you call? If you look at South Korea, they don't sleep. All these countries have something in common with them because the young people there are directing the direction of their own future. Because
Kenneth, at this stage, I want to come in briefly. Kenneth, yes, Kenneth, I want to come in briefly. You are making some interesting points. I told you that I will have one-on-one with you so that you can help us understand this better from your experience as somebody who is a manufacturing consultant who has focus on industrial economics. Now, we know that Ghana has a huge infrastructure gap. We also know that some would say that many parts of this country may not be ready to hook on. As the former president may have said that as and when you are ready, come, the incentives will attract you. What are some of the potential challenges? If you can make it brief, and then I can ask my last question. For you, and from what you know, and looking at the best practice in maybe Australia, or you want to look at Sydney, you want to look at UK, China, you made reference to Cairo and so on. Help us understand potential challenges and what those who are piecing together the implementation plan should consider.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, the case study is going to be on the policy. The policy itself will now mean that we need to rearrange some of the laws existing in our country. For instance, how we operate. The labor law is going to change because most people tend to work 9 to 5. Now with this, it's not surprising that he made that statement at the TUC, and the TUC itself has supported or has given the assent to that, which means that we are now going to move into what's called, if it's going to be Ghanaian working hours or the European working hours, where people can do longer hours, and it means that laws have to readjust themselves, or we have to also adjust ourselves according to the best practices elsewhere. Before that, we're going to have teething issues as per every policy that comes in, because every policy you need to roll with time. But I'm saying that there's opportunity there, and I would not even call the minor challenges that we're going to have with this policy to sort of stop us from going in. It is the future. Any state that has given itself the opportunity for the people to aspire continues to grow. And if that is the case, does it mean that we are going to look at how we recruit people into the police force? I think one area that is going to be a very important factor is how we manage our roads. So that means that it should be very possible for somebody to go out to Accra, go to work and say, I want to go to the Accra Mall, for instance, at midnight and do a shopping and go home and sleep. That is very possible. And it happens in London. It should be very possible, for instance, the Metro mass transport system to be able to run 24 hours because there are people who depend on it to go to work. It is also possible. So it's going to be a bit of an operational challenges here. But these are things that have already been tested and can be implemented in Ghana, so to speak. I do not think that Ghanaians would have to be overly afraid of the new ways of doing things. I think what is going to be it, we need to get the next parliament more involved. Parliament will have to bring in the legislation, the allies in place, so that the transition will become very easy. But it is also important the government or the President Mahama has said it is not going to be compulsory because most people will have to do the buy-in because you're going to look at your cost per production against the demands for your employees. Now think about how we're able to store things at Tema Port for an overnight before we ship them back to the respective customers' warehouses. If we are running a 24 hours economy, what it means is that people will be able to access items in time, meaning that we are minimizing waste and increasing yield. Productivity is going to go up there for us. And I think that is where the interest should be. I do not see anyhow how challenges can impact this policy. The policy itself is a journey. As we progress, we'll navigate around them and see where the learnings can be. And I'm sure there are a lot of people, players in this field who have done some sort of jobs. Like for me, from my manufacturing background, I can say within the automotive industry, but Ghana doesn't do much of the automotive, but at least those from the Kokompe and the rest would also take advantage of it because they can get their goods coming, then the next morning they are opening their shop, people are buying. And I think that is how the flow is going to be.
All right. So, Kenneth Johnson, I can say that I wish I would complete the program with you, but unfortunately, you are not the only guest I have here. You would notice that I have Mr. How do you call it? The Akwesi Opon of Fosu. I always say Ofosu. Akwesi Opon Fosu is also into some issues related to how we can tap into opportunities. He's in the studio here. If you want to say hi to him. But thank you very much for your time this evening. But I've told you that definitely I'll come back to you. I believe that many people who are listening to this conversation, if in the media space, will try to engage you for a much broader debate on this subject. We are grateful for your time tonight, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me another time.
All right. So Kenneth Johnson is a Ghanaian based in the UK, and I think he made some exciting points. In fact, it takes this debate to another level. Now, so for you, after listening to him, what works through
my mind?
Yes, I can put it that way.
Yeah. You see, I grew up in Chema. I was born in Chema. And growing up, what I became used to at the time was that Chema was a city that
never slept.
And why so? Because there were a lot of industries and people were running shifts. So there was so much activity. My late father used to work with Parkinson Howard, a British construction company, and was a supervisor. And Parkinson Howard was the company that constructed the Tema Harbour. And being a supervisor, we hardly saw him. And there were many times we had to carry food to him at the workplace, you know. So it's because we are at low productivity levels. That's why this has become so strange. And people either being mischievous or really do not understand what it is. But I suspect it's more of mischief, you know, because in essence, what President Mahama is saying is that we are going to increase productivity. And with productivity, there will be demand on labor. So productivity, jobs. That's the connection. So it shouldn't generate any of this.
I remember in 2020, for example, we'll come shortly into the other phase of our conversation, which really borders on governance and how we can enhance productivity through the strategies anybody can put in place going into 2025. But I remember that in 2020, for example, when I was following the former president around the country, he made reference to something he called the Big Push Agenda.
Right.
At that time, maybe the economy had not been run down as we have today. But the idea he had at the time was that it was going to be a 10 billion investment over a number of years. And then road infrastructure and other critical infrastructure that will facilitate or be the base on which any form of development or sector can leapfrog was going to be what he was going to do. Yeah. And that obviously, if he's going to adopt that into the manifesto for 2025 or 2024, would mean that they will dovetail some of this idea into the 24-hour economy thing. But some would say, is it going to be that easy? Kenneth suggests it should be seamless.
Yes. Once you put your mind to it, and I believe at the right time,
the details will be out.
President Mahama will launch this vision, and the details will be out. But then, if we are looking at value chains and the kind of activities in some sectors and the scope and scale of productivity, as well as the jobs that these activities will generate. It has its challenges, but then it's doable, because we'll be talking about infrastructure to support this productivity. We'll be talking about regulations and all the spectrum of activities involved in creating a high productivity economy.
Now, so for you and the experience you have had over the years working as a public servant, I think I read through your profile about 40 years. There's a video that went around last week, and this video is about the finance minister who had returned from Parliament after presenting the budget, and then we have staff of the ministry who had been forced to come out, or their party apparatchiks who have employment there who came out, and I'm sure they'll be sharing the video on the screen. And if you hear what they were doing, they were virtually singing and praising the finance minister, suggesting that he's a deliverer. He had achieved something great. Yeah. Now, this is a reflection of many state institutions that have been run down because it doesn't reflect what their mandate is. Now, going into 2025, this is one critical area. I'm not making reference to finance ministry alone. Several state institutions which need to be retooled. Yeah. Will it be easy? Must it go with the force and the strictness or firmness that will really give confidence to the average voter who may give the confidence to whoever wins 2025?
Yeah, you see, the public services have a code of ethics and code of conduct, which emphasizes professionalism and neutrality and all that. They are not supposed to be partisan. They serve the government, the government of the day. So some of these happenings are quite disturbing. Yeah. I don't know what they were celebrating, because you are in a ministry that has supervised the virtual collapse of the economy. No, the projection of 3.2 growth could not be achieved. We are at 1.5. And then in the midst of all this, you present a budget and you are in a celebration mood. I don't understand what this is about. And it takes my mind back to the Kinky party that they had there some time ago, when they it was to celebrate some loans that they have acquired. You know, so I really don't know what this is supposed to be, but certainly it's not something that professional public servants should be proud of, as engaging in this kind of conduct.
Now, in the conversation that I had earlier with Kenneth Johnson on the 24-hour economy, I noticed that he was making reference to, and of course, the Chamber of Local Government or Governance, how they call it?
Chamber of Local Government.
Yes, the Chamber of Local Government has also issued a statement, and they were making specific reference to how this potential could boost the economy at the local level. Certainly. Now, you have been a former local government minister, and you would notice that many district assemblies are virtually dependent on central government, either because they cannot generate revenue enough, or the economies where these local assemblies are not big enough, and so they are virtually dead. More so, government today has capped monies that could have been paid to them. Now, if you sit back and you look at how that sector of our economy is being run over the years, and taking into consideration even the apathy towards local assembly elections, i.e. the recent exhibition of the voters register, which had a low turnout, which is telling you how it is likely to play out. Would you say this is a reflection of our bad governance over the years, or structures that we have put in place that didn't really get the proper footing on the ground?
Yeah, we envisioned this local governance system as self-governments in terms of decision-making, policies, raising of revenues, revenue sharing with central government, and all that. Within the dimensions of decentralization, we have the political decentralization, which has to do with the policy-making institution, the elected representatives, the assembly members, and the DCE, and the bureaucrats in decision-making. Now we have the administrative decentralization, which has to do with the functioning, the departments that have to implement the decisions. Now, what was the practice before, and is still happening with centralization, is that even though we say we have a local government, the departments within the assemblies are central government departments. So we set ourselves out to decentralize by law. It's in the Constitution that the departments within the jurisdiction of every assembly must come under those assemblies, so that they take direct instructions from the assemblies and not from central government headquarters. That's one dimension of it. And then the third is the fiscal decentralization, funds to implement projects and run the assemblies. What has been happening is that the ministries and their departments and agencies in Accra prepare budgets on behalf of the departments in the assemblies. So if citizens are holding, say, I want to give a talk in Tema, and they were surprised that the roads in Tema are not the responsibility
of the
assembly. They were surprised that it's still under central government jurisdiction. Education, health, and all that. So it's like the assemblies then become talking shops. They are not able to implement the decisions because the departments administratively and their finances are not part of the assembly's budget. So the next step was the the institution of the composite budget. Before we left office, we had a lot of meetings with the Minister of Finance, and have come to the agreement that we need to apply the law. Ministries, departments, and agencies in Accra should not prepare their budgets to include the departments in the assemblies. Let the assemblies prepare their budgets with their departments, so that the assemblies will have a composite budget of assembly revenue and the departmental revenues, so that if some roads are not done, then the assemblies are held responsible, because that budget has been transferred to them. But once you hold it in Accra, at the Ministry of Feeder Roads or Urban Roads, still constructing roads in the districts, and if you are not able to do it, it's the assembly that is held responsible. So this has been the challenge.
So how different is this assembly concept? I'll dwell here for maybe another few minutes before we move on to another area of interest. Because if you go to the US, for example, they may have the central government, but they have the different states which have their own economies and are running them. So you'd notice that a certain economy in a certain state may be far, far, far bigger, and all their policies may be different from another state. If you go to China, the provinces almost operate the same. The only difference is that because it is almost like a one-party state, the central government has its own interest and can determine that we want to develop, let's say, Guangzhou or Beijing, any of the provinces, and then move on to the other. Now, if you go to Nigeria, for example, they may have the federal states that may have their own economies. In our part of the world, would you say, as somebody who has headed the local government ministry, who understands what goes into managing those areas, that the bane of our economic challenges is also a result of our poor systems in place for assemblies to be on their own?
Yes. We're still holding on. As someone described the situation as selling your monkey and holding its tail.
What does it mean?
Central government has given responsibilities to the assemblies and still holding on to the responsibilities and the finances. So you at times you hear of there was a time when the president went to somewhere in Volta region to commission a lorry park. You know, it's mixed up. This has local government responsibilities. Let's leave the local governments to be responsible for the preferences and needs of the people there.
How can this be done?
We need to let go.
If you want to let go, may be as simple as that. From my perspective, as somebody with little experience in the field we are talking about. Let me make some specific references. In the 2022-2023 budget that I witnessed, government was preparing the minds of the assemblies that even the revenues you have control on and can take, we want to poke our nose into them.
So you realize that
property rates...
It's been centralized.
I don't know much. I think in the 2024 budget, they are trying to walk away from it. I've not read the entire budget, but that is the impression I'm getting. Now, why should it happen so if assembly members have their union, they are not paid, and they have the structures that can generate income for them, but they don't have control on them? And this cuts across mineral sector and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the assemblies have been weakened with their mouthpiece, of course, being... I was president of NALAC before, and when you have appointees being the representatives,
i.e. the DCs.
The DCs being the representatives of the assemblies, some of these issues become quite difficult to confront, you know. So there has been a reversal of most of the achievements in decentralization. Because years ago, countries like Uganda, others, were coming here to understudy what we were doing. But they have advanced in decentralization, and we are rather re-centralizing. And this, of course, poses...
Can this change?
Yes, we can. We can. It takes a bold executive, president to.
Would you recommend this to John Mahama if you had the opportunity to sit one-on-one with him, making reference to your experience and what you think can be considered post-2024, looking at the circumstances we find ourselves today?
When he was vice president and we're going through this roadmap to decentralizing the departments and establish the composite budget, he chaired the Interministerial Coordinating Committee on Decentralization. He knows more maybe than I do, because he chaired the meetings, and it was quite some challenging situations, because the central government agencies and their ministers were not prepared to let go, and we had real difficult conversations around that. But he was very tough as chairman and ensured that we prepared the roadmap. So along the line, I think when we left office, we started experiencing these reversals. The Chamber of Local Government approached me. They wanted to have some discussions on this disturbing trend of property rates that is also being centralized. Yes, you know. So it's something that the committee that I worked on regarding the manifesto preparation have made some strong recommendations for us to revisit. Well, my guest is Akwesi Opong Fosu. I told you he has about 40 years experience working in the public sector. These days he has been reduced to invitee to attend several countries to address international summits, conferences, fora here and there. And I'll be taking a short break. When we come back, I'll go into another segment with him on some of the topical issues on governance and what 2025 should be looking at, whoever wins the elections. Obviously, many people have tipped John Mahama to win the elections, and it's obvious on the ground that he's most likely, and he's already dictating the pace ahead of 2024 elections, now with the 24-hour economic policy rolling. Now, this Saturday, there's going to be an event at Osu Presby. It's something we call Wisdom Summit. We do this every year. What we do is we bring people together, many people who are loyal to us, our viewers and listeners. We bring them together and we bring experts to share experiences. It could be entrepreneurship, it could be marriage life, it could be health issues, anything that bother you. Now this year, the event is taking place this Saturday, 9 a.m. is the time, Osu Presby Hall, and we have three important guests. Dr. Ibrahim Osman, he'll be speaking on wisdom on health. ACP Kofi Sapon, you know, an influential musician. I like his smiles all the time. He'll be speaking on security, very important at this time. And then Reverend D.Y. Donko, who is like the patron, the mother of this initiative we've been embarking on for some years now, will be speaking on marriage and relationship, and attendance is free. Now, if you want to be part of Wisdom Summit, this is what you have to do. All you have to do is to send your full name and attend. Just send your full name, write attend to our WhatsApp number 0248 712 812 0248 712 812, and for sponsorship you can contact 0533 825 870. Already we are grateful to Victory Garlic Mixture, Best Wine, Studio 52, Studio 502, Bright Cement, Frontier Sounds, Mayford Locals, and Cocktail Bar. Best Wine, Studio 502, and all the rest that I've mentioned. I'll be taking a break. Akwesi Opong Fosu will be addressing other interesting issues, track record, and then we'll be talking about expectations going into 2024 and other very exciting things he has been addressing recently outside Ghana. I'll be talking about that when I come back.
Nyansa Shasi, Honorary Yamishro, XYZ Broadcasting Company Limited, Afiso Yazat Tumne Zocheneda, Wisdom Summit 2023. Yeah, the Nyansa. This year, Wisdom Summit Timon, Yafifi, Isaiah chapter 33, verse. The fear of the Lord will be your treasure. No one says, oh, Batanyamia, Ama will be Regina, Nyang Kwaji. 2023 Wisdom Summit, Strong Kokra. What to suffering him Zifu, our Bajumaziasan will be impacted wisdom. Papa Zama, Ibiye, Nyansa wa Waru, wisdom in marriage, Nyansa wa Apomidin, wisdom in health, Nyansa wa Banbom, wisdom in security, Nyansa wa Mpinaki, wisdom in relationship. When you be Brenanka Sadamadan, Wobeshe, and now when Henry Betche. Speakers, Reverend D.Y. Donko, Dr. Ibrahim Osman, ACP Kofi Sapo, Saturday, 25th of November, 2023, 10 a.m. Pepe. Venue near Osu Presby Hall. So when you are Chumezi with a Babasa, Mode Yaide, ever send at 10 ATTEND. Sako MTN number 0533 825 870. And send you not tap Nyansa. Sponsors is our work with natural domain. Right Cement Gun, Best Wine Shop, Piwak Natural Health, Studio 502, Mayford Locals and Cocktail Bar, Frontier Sounds and Event, Victory Garlic Mixture, Sepede Sponsor, Fred 0533 825 870. Nyansa Shasi, Honorary Yamishro. Wisdom Summit 2023 is powered by Power 97.9 FM and TV XYZ. Wisdom Summit 2023. Yerbo, hey, Bush Nyansa, Yamishra.
Upon your arrival, you are introduced to your butler, who plans your itinerary. So many activities, all in the same premises. You visit the gym or the stables, they have it all. At my break, I'm able to practice my putting. They used only electric vehicles here. This creates a serene environment. I'm told it's over 1,000 acres. My cabin here sits on 2 acres with a large terrace space overlooking my private swimming pool. Now this is royalty. They have their own farms, thousands of fruit trees. I can also have my lunch here at the waterfall. Quite a beautiful place you have yourself.
Welcome back. The program tonight is Ideas Exchange. We are looking at governance. We are looking at post-2024. It will be tough. It takes somebody who is bold, somebody who has a good track record, and somebody who can convince Ghanaians that it can change things. We know many institutions are weakened. Today we are talking about blue economy, and Mahama is talking about 24-hour economy. Of course, blue economy has to do with MPP and its plan. Mahama is talking about 24-hour economy. The debate is on. We are looking at weakened institutions, how we can change them, demoralize Ghanaians, how we can build confidence in them. And of course, we are looking at the youth who have so much expectations and need jobs. Who really has the track record? Now, we're talking about local governance. And I'm just wondering, from your experience, how can the local governance structure we have in Ghana here tap into this idea of 24-hour economy? I keep telling our audience we'll talk about other things, but I can't stop talking about 24-hour economy.
Yeah. Certainly, all these things will be happening in the local situation. Mm-hmm. Things happen at the local level.
Choba level.
Yes.
You don't want me to talk about your language?
Choba, they were even talking about night markets.
Night markets.
Night markets will spring up when there is activities, other economic activities, productivity and all that. But if you are looking at people going to buy chufi and fried yam and those things, and you want to equate that to 24-hour economy,
that's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you see, local governments will have a critical role to play. And I always refer to when we left office, we left a policy. That's the local economic development policy.
Local economic development policy. what is it like?
Which places the assemblies as a facilitating unit or organ for economic activities, bringing the private sector, traditional leaders, and other groupings, cooperatives, together to pursue economic activities based on the resources in that local jurisdiction. And we're taking inspiration from cities around the world, where it's not just the revenue base, but economic activities of the assemblies that drives their budgets. My recent visit was to Miami, and they hosted the conference, and their department of aviation was part of our discussions. And I got to know that they ran a budget of about 30 billion.
30 what?
Billion.
Only Miami?
Miami. The city, Miami-Dade County. They own the airport, just as Rotterdam City owns Rotterdam Port. So the major cities are running economic activities which are profitable, which puts them
at par with nations. Because if you look at Sydney, for example, they are also operating a 24-hour economy.
Right.
And then Sydney's example was tapping into the opportunity that can boost tourism, for example. And it is roping in over $700 billion, something like that, if my figures are right, annually. Right. Now, if you look at our local settings, I know that when I was in Takoradi, for example, those days, you hear Sekondi, Takoradi, maybe Plymouth, sister city relationship.
Yeah, right.
I remember during Adri Blankson's time and sometime around the bearded man, how do you call it?
Oko
Van der Poel's time. We also heard about Accra, some maybe New York or some other country sister city relationship. Now, it will look as if it is just for travel and fanfare, because you don't see any real impact of assembly taking the mantle and getting the blessing from central government to drive their economies. How different can things be?
So one of the recommendations that will appear in the manifesto from the local government
perspective,
is for the law on assemblies assessing loans from the capital markets to be passed, and for which, based on that, if, say, AMA wants to enter into partnership with any other investor to invest in any economic venture, they can also, with the backing of the law, go for equity to be able to run some viable economic ventures.
Which sounds laudable.
Yeah, so this then, fits into this economic policy. I think that. So we need to strengthen the assemblies to make them economically viable in terms of their facilitating role.
So where do you situate the youth in all this? Kenneth Johnson, in his presentation said, this is the time for a lot of people to think outside the box and look at what is coming to happen and begin to plan around it. If I'm a young man who may have the requisite skills, my prayer could be that you and I will be employed to work from 8 to maybe 4 p.m. We'll close, and then another set of people will come and continue to work from maybe 5 p.m. to a certain time of the day. Then a third party will come, let's say around 10 p.m. till dawn. Now, if I cannot get direct employment, how should I be conditioning myself to tap into any potential that may come after 2024?
So, for instance, in places like that, where there are shift systems and all that, people are in school, and then they do some hours of
hourly jobs.
Yes, jobs, and able to get by. So all these are quite some opportunities that will open up for the youth.
Now, let's look at, and that's where we will be wrapping up. We are going into a major election. I just listened to George Oponwia, who lost an election, and the way he conceded made me add on to the kind of respect I have for him.
Right.
It makes me feel like the Liberia many people would have expected to be full of tension is now a relaxed country, and you leave the presidency with a lot of respect, just like Johnson Sirleaf did.
Yeah.
Now, for us, we have break the 8, we'll win at all costs, and then we have other players who may have their own interests. What are your fears going into 2024, December 7?
I think the operational where they here is at all costs, you know, entrenched positions and the determination to win at all costs. Other issues that will come into play will be the integrity of the electoral process. When there is the belief that the process is skewed to favor one side of the contest, then there's disaffection. That's where all these tensions and strife set in. We are hoping that the elections will be free and fair. No intimidation, no rigging, no all the things that go into an election not being free and fair. And if that happens, I believe everybody will be happy.
Now, let me give you a word. You come across from some of the feedback I get as a fine gentleman who does not even appear or sound like a politician. Now, if you were speaking to the average Ghanaian who is a bit confused as to who has the best track record or who has the integrity that we need to change the face of what we do as a people collectively, what would you advise that young person, the trader, the undecided Ghanaian, to be the things he or she must look at before we decide next year?
Yeah, integrity is important, very, very important. It's a cornerstone of human behavior, and especially for leaders. Your thoughts, your words and your actions must align.
Mm-hmm.
So if we as a people, we are looking at track record and integrity of the leaders we are going to vote for, we shouldn't be having any doubts as to who majority Ghanaians will vote for between John Mahama and Dr. Bawumia as a flag bearer of the MPP. We should know who has integrity.
What would you be surprised if a third force comes up and would want to join the two teams to make it more competitive? And in this case, how do you see things playing out?
Well, it's yet too early to predict what will happen with movements and these agitations within the NPP. In politics, one day is 24 hours. It's quite long in decision making and outcomes of things, you know. So it's yet too early to have a third force that will be that strong. For all you know, maybe it will fizzle out, who can tell. But then this elections is about the two main political parties from how I see it. There's a determination to have a change. And people will be wondering whether it is worth it if they want to experiment with a third force, you know. And for those who are determined to go with break the eight, they will also not waste their vote. So, but at the end of the day, it is the will of the people to see some change, positive changes in their lives, to live a life of dignity and respect. Who will cause the change? Because over the years, it hasn't been easy for Ghanaians of all walks of life. Businessmen have had their businesses collapsing. People are out of jobs. Most people are making their way out of the country because of the situation. So that change will be caused by the very people who are affected by what has gone on in the past 7 years or so.
Okay, my guest tonight is Akwesi Oppong-Ofosu. Akwesi Oppong-Ofosu is a former local government minister, former member of parliament, is now an international consultant, and of course today he's speaking to me in the capacity as is a president of
Africa Growth Solutions.
Africa Growth Solutions. And of course, in the course of the program, we also spoke to Kenneth Johnson, who is a manufacturing consultant with focus on industrial economics and innovations, is the president UK Forum. And I'm promising that I will try to get him to join us, even if it's via Zoom, for a broader conversation on some of these debates. And I'm also grateful to our sponsors, and of course, for those of you who are not aware, Wisdom Summit is coming off this weekend, Saturday, Osu Presby. I'm grateful to PWAC, Victory Garlic Mixture, Best Wine, Studio 502, Bright Cement, Frontier Sounds, Mayford Locals, and Cocktail Bar. And don't forget that if you want to sponsor this program, 0553-825-870 are the lines. And if you want to attend, just WhatsApp attend to our WhatsApp number 0248-712-812. My name is Ahianyo. Thanks to our producers for giving us some small, few minutes just to wrap up. But Fosu, I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You too.